Welcome to Foundations of Greek Grammar, Part 4. And I'm excited to bring this next installment of our foundations of both Hebrew and Greek. Now, our first two foundations were Greek and Hebrew morphology. Then Part 3, we looked at Hebrew. Now we're coming over to the Greek side. And I'm very excited because there's really some neat things we're going to learn here. Logos is becoming quite a powerful tool when it comes to original language, making it a whole lot easier. Now, as we get into this, let's talk about the purpose of the webinar so I can kind of set expectations tonight. Of course, we're going to provide training for Logos Bible software. You're here to learn how to use this tool more effectively, and we're going to do that. We're also going to provide training so you can take this topic and study it for yourself. Thirdly, we're going to provide along the way some biblical insights related to the topic. And then fourth, we'll provide some materials so you can equip yourself and others. Now, because we're doing original language, I want to stress that we're not intending to replace seminary. These are going to be shorter lessons due to the technical nature of the material. I don't want to overwhelm you. This is going to be a good review for those of you who are rusty with your Greek training, but it's primarily the audience I'm targeting is someone with little or no Greek training but wants to tap into the original language. So this is really great for anyone who wants to use more of the original language tools in Logos. We're going to show you a step-by-step approach with biblical examples. So it's very exciting. Now, just real quick as we jump into this, first you'll be able to take this webinar home. We're going to be recording it and make it available. If you have not purchased the Logos training, version 4, version 5, we have that available at a discount for you. This is the most affordable, most comprehensive training on the internet and for Logos. And it really covers 4 aspects. You know, most training out there starts and stops with the features. They show you a feature, and that's all the training does. That's just the beginning of training. With my training, we go beyond that. So we take you and we show you how those features connect to specific tasks. Might be Bible word study, might be using commentaries, etc. But even that's insufficient. So we go even further. We then take those features and tasks and we organize them into a systematic way of studying the Bible, a step-by-step approach, if you will. And then we go even further because even if you got all 3 of those in order and you know the features, you know the tasks, and you know a systematic approach, there's one thing missing: resources. What books are you going to use to study? And which books do you use at different steps in the Bible study process? And so we're going to teach you about the books in your library, but also help you find books outside your library that can enhance your library for better and more in-depth study. So if you're interested in buying any of these, just visit LearnLogos.com/buy now. The 2014 live training schedule is available now, so just go to LearnLogos.com/events. You will need to sign up for each individual event, so that way we can tailor our messages and let you know if there's any changes in the schedule. So be sure to check that out. We've got the whole 2014 year planned out. Our next webinar, 2 weeks from tonight, or actually a little bit more than that, Monday, February 3rd, is Theology 101. We're picking up back on this 4-part series. We'll be specifically studying the topic of sin and salvation, parts 3 and 4. So very excited to bring that to you as well. Don't forget about the how to prepare a sermon, how to prepare a message with Logos. Intense 10-week training event. This is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I'm so excited to do this. We're going to have a syllabus. We're going to have great examples. It's going to be an incremental discipleship model approach. So each week you're going to get a little bit of piece, a little bit of homework, a little bit piece of learning the whole process so that you can apply that week to week. And so at the end of this 10 weeks, this is going to be more training than you'd ever get in a seminary or even a weekend retreat. Very practical, and of course, it's affordable and it's convenient at your house. If you miss a day, no big deal. We record each session and make it available to you within 24 hours. So that way we can work around your schedule and vice versa. So what's tonight's training topics? Well, we're right now in the middle of our introduction, and then we're going to look at some recommended but not required resources. There is a lot of books you can get to help you study the Greek language, and we're going to outline those for you. Then we're going to look at a step-by-step method for studying Greek grammar, and then we're going to show you how to create a study layout, identify phrases, getting phrases organized. We're going to show you how to translate word by word. We're going to begin with some major grammar topics, morphology, articles, conjunctions, prepositions, and then just introduce you to participles. The next webinar will be a lot more. And then searching for Greek grammars. So let's go ahead and get started. And of course, with this webinar, the personal book will be included with the purchase. So you'll have all my notes and links and so forth. Now, let's start off with just a couple things. We talked about this the last time with the Hebrew, and that is Logos has a special program called Shibboleth. Let me go ahead and open that up and bring that into our study space. So here is Shibboleth, and what it allows you to do as a program is type in these original language. So for example, let me go ahead and launch it. Last time I showed you how you could type in Hebrew. Well, when you launch this keyboard, you can type in Greek. So I'm going to click up here at the top. I'm going to locate Greek. Now we have a Greek keyboard, and I can begin typing in Greek. Very, very cool. So it shows you the English down here as a phonetic spelling. And then you've got capitalization, you've got breathing marks that can be added. Very comprehensive, very helpful if you got to write a paper or just copy and paste and so forth. So take advantage of that free tool that's available. When you're working with the Greek, it's very important that you change the Greek font size. So let me just do that real quick inside Logos. Let me open up Logos. And I'm just going to open up a Greek Bible. I'm going to do the NA27, for example. And that stands for the Nestle Aland 27th edition. Now, for the Greek and the Hebrew both, I definitely recommend enlarging the font size. It just makes it so much easier to read. So go ahead and click on the Bible icon, the book cover. It's called the resource panel. Up at the top, you see a small a and a big A. Just go ahead and grab that, and as you move it to the right, you'll see the font getting larger. Now for Greek, this is where I'm comfortable at, about 3 ticks to pass the standard or default setting. And that is a good size. You can see all the markings very nicely. So be aware that you can change the font size to make it a whole lot easier to read. Now, the first thing we want to do when you're working with the Greek is to kind of organize your library and identify those books in your library that may be able to assist you with the Greek grammar. You may not realize you've already got some incredible language tools, and you may not need to go out and buy a whole bunch more books, but there are some excellent books to add to your library. But let's see first what you have in your current library. All right, so the way to do this is we're going to go up to the menu, and we're going to go to Tools, and we're going to go to Collections. Now, when I open up the window, it opened up as a tab covering my personal book. Let's go ahead and make room for this. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to left-click on the tab, and I'm going to drag it to the right. Now, you're going to see some shading. That shading is to let you know where this book will open up. In a sense, it's destination. This helps you organize your books and move them around. So I'm going to go ahead and release it there, and now I've got a split window. Now I'm going to go ahead and open the rule since I've already created it, and it's Grammar Greek. And you can see what I've done here. So we got Greek grammar, 2 separate words separated with a space, and then another space, and then I start doing all these minuses. Notice that there's no space between the minus and then what follows. It's all kind of together. So I've got minus type colon quote Bible commentary. What that's going to do is eliminate Bible commentaries from my list. Then I have minus type clause. That's going to get rid of the Greek clause resources that you have. I'm going to do minus title Hebrew, just in case a Hebrew grammar snuck in there. Then I'm going to do minus type Bible, so no Bibles appear. Then I'm going to do minus subject colon Bible hyphen bibliography. So I want those removed. And then lastly, minus type lexicon. And what that's going to do is identify all your Greek grammar resources. Now, I've been playing with this rule quite a bit, and this is probably one of the better ones to help you get a more refined list of resources. And that's what I have here at the right. Now, once you've got this rule typed in, you now have the ability to search just those resources and nothing else. In fact, what's really handy with the new Logos 5 is you can click on here, entire library. So I went to the Bible icon or the book icon at the top left of the main menu, and then I click on entire library and I type in grammar. When I type in grammar, then my resources and collections that appear. And there's our Greek grammar. And so now I can be in my library and just see the list of books instantly. And then if I want to open one in particular, I can just go ahead and click on the title. Now, the reason we're creating a collection is that later in the webinar, we're going to search against this collection, which will help us understand significant Greek grammar issues. The next collection I want to create is Greek Bibles, because you may not realize you have a multitude of Greek Bibles in your library as well. So let's go back to Tools and Collections. And I'm going to open up Greek Bibles. And here's the rule for that. So subject, colon, quote. And this one's really particular. You got to do Bible, period, space, n.t. quote. And then type Bible. And then subject, Greek. And then minus interlinear, minus clausal, minus syntactical, minus English. Now what this is going to do, by the way, it's a little tricky with that subject minus T. That's showing up because we're just rounding the word to the next line and Logos inserted in there. If we stretch it out, you'll see that minus went away. So Logos is kind of adding this little minus in here as we would in English, but be careful because it's not meant to be there. So that's something that Logos is adding because of the word wrap. So be careful on that. So we got the rule in there. And now you'll notice, and this is what I wanted to point out, not only are we getting Greek Bibles, but depending on your collection, you may get back manuscripts and other resources that can be very, very helpful. This is a wonderful way to organize all your resources in one place that are related to the Greek biblical text. All right, now the next one is specialized resources. Let's jump into these. Won't go through all of them, but I do want to spend a few minutes on a couple of these. Now, the specialized resources include things like biblical Greek exegesis or diagrammatical analysis. Here's one, Grammar of the Old Testament in Greek according to the Septuagint, and then grammatical insights into the New Testament. Exegesis, very important. This book will really help you in getting more out of your Greek Bible, and there's some real helpful steps on, for example, grammatical diagramming, how to do it, and so forth. The diagrammatical analysis, great book if you're interested in diagramming the Greek New Testament. Now, for what it's worth, BibleWorks has all the New Testament completely grammatically diagrammed. It's an incredible resource that they have in there, and I'm surprised Logos hasn't done that. They've got their syntax, but having the whole New Testament grammatically diagrammed sure is handy. So if that is something of interest for you, then you might want to consider picking up that resource as well. The next one is a Grammar of the Old Testament in the Greek. Now, I just brought this in because it had to do with the Septuagint. So if you want to get into that, that'll be very helpful. And then this resource by Nigel Turner is pretty helpful in that it's a grammatical insights into the New Testament. So he's going to talk about the census or meditation on the birth of Jesus. He's going to pick these topics, and then he's going to go into and how the Greek adds insight and understanding into the passage that the English just doesn't always carry through very easily. So it's such a unique resource. I highly recommend it because if you're studying that passage, these insights will be very valuable. Think of it as a specialized commentary. All right, the next group is vocabulary or paradigm resources, biblical Greek reference. So, for example, if you're in seminary and you had to memorize all these paradigms, this resource in Logos, biblical Greek reference, will show you those. I like the biblical Greek reference. It's very handy. Then there is the Building Your New Testament Vocabulary. The two most important things, I can't stress this enough, to help you understand the Greek better is learning the alphabet and learning vocabulary. I would learn those two things before I memorize any paradigms and try to read Greek from the original language. Those will do more for you in the long run than memorizing any paradigms. Now, the next resource is by Daniel Wallace, New Testament Greek Syntax. And what I like about this is these are very simplified outlines and definitions that break down various issues. We're going to look at this later when we get to the article and so forth. So very nice, concise summaries of key topics. You have Matthew DeMoss and the Pocket Dictionary of the New Testament Greek. So they're going to explain to you morphology, like what's a genitive when you see that. And that's going to be very helpful. If your English is weak like mine, having a resource like this is extremely helpful. Eric's asking the question, are any of these part of a base collection? Some are, but most are not, unfortunately. And so I've tried to bring a blend. Many of the Zondervan resources are available in part of their big collection. In fact, let me go ahead and bring that into the window here so you can see. Now, a lot of people have already told Logos, hey, when is Zondervan going to break these up? Because we don't want to spend $616 on all this stuff. We may just need one or two of these resources. And so a lot of people have commented, as you can see down here, great collection, but too expensive, break it up. And one day they probably will. But in the meantime, all these resources are, unfortunately, many of them are in this one giant collection. This particular one I have to do, that really surprised me. It is Sing and Learn the New Testament Greek in Audio. So, for example, if you wanted to learn the alphabet, there's a nice little melody. So here you go.
Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota.
So not only does the alphabet he sings to you, but look at this. He'll do the articles. This is pretty amazing and pretty clever, too. Here we go. So I thought you guys would get a kick out of that, because if you have to learn this, melody is a wonderful way to make it easier. The only thing that's disappointing about this resource, it didn't come with the lyrics, which would make life a whole lot easier. You can get these words in the other resources, but it would have been handy if you just clicked on it and you saw right below, like the hymns are in Logos, you had the lyrics. That would just make life a whole lot easier. There's also readings in the Greek New Testament as well. So you can learn 1 John and hear what it sounds like and so forth. And don't forget, I need to mention this. So let me go ahead and open up the Nestle Aland again. But many of the Greek Bibles, if you click on the resource icon, it has this option, the Read Aloud Greek Audio New Testament. And I'm going to go ahead and do that so you can see this working.
Ton logon, epistethi, eukairos, akairos, elingson, epitimeson, parakalason. Okay,
so you can hear it talking. Now, in this particular example, we're not seeing any ball move. That's one of the limitations of that particular book. But if you go to New Testament, it's the UBS. There's a couple different ones here where this makes sense. Let me try that one. And here we go. Read aloud. There we go. So not only can you hear the book being read, but you have the little dot to let you know where the word is audibly. As we jump in a step-by-step method for studying Greek, you have to be aware of some important concepts. So let me do this first. Now, the Greek New Testament is an amazing, amazing historical document, all right? And it comes from three types of let's just say artifacts that we have found. The first is the papyri or the papyrus. And we have lots of samples of these in museums and special universities. And we have the Greek New Testament on these papyruses, which was the oldest form of paper. It goes back, at least we know, to Egypt. And this is how the text was written down and passed on to generation to generation. And this paper is very old and has to be preserved properly. And so we don't have a lot of these that have survived, but nevertheless we do. And so I want you to be aware that if you see a papyri or papyrus, that's rare and very important. And we have, our Bible comes from some of these papyruses. The second type is called the uncials or uncials, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And what this is it's all capital letters. The whole thing is written down in all caps. It should be mentioned, you know, many people attack the Bible, and it's important to note that, for example, Homer's Iliad, everyone goes, oh yeah, this is Homer's Iliad, he wrote the book. Well, there's almost like 1,000 years between Homer's life and the first copy that we have. And on top of that, we only have a handful of copies. You may not realize this, but we've got over 5,000 pieces, manuscripts, papyri, and uncials of the New Testament. And all these are within, 50 to 100 years of the actual author. So what that means, the implications of that is we have a high reliability that the text that we have is very close, if not an exact copy of the original. We have high probability that the text that has been handed to us is an excellent reflection of what the apostles wrote down. So just to throw that in there. The third type of manuscript is the minuscule. And this is basically small cursive. That's the whole concept here. So it allows you to put more information in a smaller space. Just be aware that those three types of manuscripts all came together to produce our Bible. Now, you got to be aware of this. This is really, really important. There's three families of texts. So when you look at all these papyri, uncials, and minuscules, they come from three different areas of the world. The first one is the Alexandrian or minority text. It's called minority because they're few in number, and they come from the area of Alexandria, Egypt. This is your Westcott and Hort, your NASB, NIV, New World Translation, New Century Version. They're all based on the Alexandrian minority text. Then there's the Western texts, and many of our Latin Bibles come from there. And then we have the Byzantine or the majority text. Again, it's called majority because of the huge amount of copies that we have. It's also got many other names, Textus Receptus, also called the received text, and it goes back as far as the 4th century. This is where your King James and New King James versions come from. I don't want to get into a huge debate on King James versus any other translation, but I do want to make you aware that the Bible text that you have is always a compilation of various manuscripts. We don't have an original autograph as far as any scholar can tell. We may have a mixed-in copy from Paul, who knows, but we have copies of copies of copies. But having all those copies and comparing all those copies has helped us to derive a text that we feel reflects the author's original writings. So you can have a high confidence that the text you're reading is an accurate representation of the original authors. And when there is a discrepancy, all the Bibles note it, so you don't have to worry. But no discrepancy ever affects doctrine, which is pretty amazing. Now, that's all background and very important. Now, the next step, what I want to do is open up and create a study layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my personal book out of the way, and we're going to go ahead